Welcome in to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today, I have my 5 takeaway series. I'll be dropping this every Monday from now until the end of the NFL season, covering that week's slate. As always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's go. So my first takeaway, of course, Saquon Barkley had a career game. I mean, he was the main reason for the Eagles' big victory, 37-20 over the Rams. 26 carries, 255 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 4 catches for 47 yards. Barkley even rotated it out a bit during the game for Kenneth Gainwell. Just didn't matter. This was a career game for him. He even saw 4 catches, more receiving work with Devonta Smith out. Barkley's big game, of course, hurt Jalen Hurts' value. Hurts had just 22 passing attempts, 15 for 22, 179 yards and a touchdown, and 12 carries for 39 yards. Now, Hurts will not do this badly in a game that the Eagles score 37 points again. Kenneth Gainwell had a rushing touchdown. That's not typical. Hurts had 8.1 yards per attempt, so he's good on a per throw basis. But I think we've seen that when the Eagles are down Smith or A.J. Brown, like they were earlier in the season, they do abandon the pass, and Hurts needs to get there with his legs. Tush push helps in those games. Of course, that did not happen in this one. So I'm not concerned about Jalen Hurts at all. Now, what would I do here? You can probably guess. I'm looking to sell Saquon Barkley. Now, I get it. It sucks to do this, right? I mean, who wants to sell a player after they had 250 yards and 2 touchdowns? But, Barkley, a lot of miles, a lot of injuries. 27 years old, turns 28 in February. I know every single old running back stayed healthy this year, and none of them declined. But this would be the only year that was true in the last forever. This is a massive outlier. It's not going to happen again. If you can capitalize on Barkley before a trade deadline or before the year ends, now is the time to do so. He's not going to be worth more in the offseason. I can tell you that. So I did see a couple of trades that I found interesting. Sell Saquon Barkley for Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is 5 years younger than Saquon Barkley. Jahmyr Gibbs is also very good. I would happily do this in Dynasty, no matter the state of my team. And then sell Saquon Barkley for 2 2025 firsts. I would have to take the 2025 firsts there. It's just too much value. And you'll be able to replace Saquon Barkley long-term with those picks. Now, Bucky Irving, full breakout. Now, oftentimes we come out of a bye week and rookie usage changes. It's very typical. And that's exactly what happened with Irving in the Bucs backfield. He had 12 carries, 87 yards and touchdown, and 6 catches for 64 yards. And the passing game usage was the critical part. Irving led Bucs running backs in snaps, routes run, and tied White in carries. This was the first time that Irving was the true lead receiving back. That was the key thing. Rachaad White had the same 12 carries, but just 37 yards and touchdown. Never has any breakaway runs, really. 1 catch for 10 yards. White barely trailed Irving in snaps, but he fell to a measly 11 routes run. Additionally, Bucs running backs played more than 100% of total snaps. Now, what does that mean? It means that Bucs running backs were being used as wide receivers. Now, I think what that means is that White will be even more phased out in the future when the receiving core is healthy. And then Sean Tucker had this very bizarre role. He only played 5 snaps, but had 4 carries for 3 yards and a touchdown, and he fumbled at the goal line. He was bizarrely used only at the goal line and nowhere else. I don't get it. I don't know why teams do this. This is silly. Bucky Irving is a better running back than Sean Tucker in every single way. So this is annoying, but I wouldn't let it really impact much of my valuation moving forward. Now, what would I do here? I'd have to look at selling low on Rachaad White. Unfortunately, I think it's too late to get Irving. You had your chances. In the rookie draft, he was a 3rd-round pick in Superflex leagues. You had your chances to acquire Bucky Irving at a reasonable cost. Now it's going to cost a first. Now it's too late. So you can't do that. But you can still get out of Rachaad White. White is a fine player. I'm not saying that White is bad, but he's going to turn 26 in the offseason. He enters the final year of his rookie deal in 2025. He's being phased out of the offense. The touchdown and 12 carries might hide a bit of his severe usage decline in this game. So if you could sell Rachaad White for 27 first, this was in the Dynasty Daddy trade database. Probably not realistic, but it's a chance since people say 2027 is so far away, stuff like that. And then more realistic, 25 second. I've seen a lot of this one. I take the second in most spots. I think you might be able to get an extra third involved. I do not think that Rachaad White will ever lead a backfield again. I think Rachaad White is going to be a complementary back for the rest of his career, unless there are injuries. But otherwise, I don't think he's going to be the intended lead back on this team or any other team ever again. Now, takeaway 3. Caleb Williams and the Bears receivers rebounded. Now, I think that head coach Matt Eberflus is a big problem with the Bears. But it's undeniable that former OC Shane Waldron was an even bigger problem because suddenly the offense has mysteriously looked much better the last 2 weeks after Waldron was fired. Now, Williams went 32 of 47 for 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had 6 carries for 33 yards. He did take 3 sacks, one of which was really bad. And he averaged 7.2 yards per attempt, which is okay. Didn't have any turnovers, which is good. But beyond just the play of Williams, which has been better, new offensive coordinator Thomas Brown realized that DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Odunze, and Cole Kmet are way better than the other players. Gerald Everett, Mercedes Lewis, DeAndre Carter. These players should not be playing on offense. So what changed? Moore had 7 catches, 106 yards and a touchdown, 7 targets, and a carry of 13 yards into some pass attempt. That was very strange. Keenan Allen, 9 catches, 86 yards, a touchdown on 15 targets. Incredible usage from Allen. And then Odunze, 10 targets, but only 5 catches for 39 yards. All the Bears wide receivers ran 53, 54, and 55 of a possible 55 routes. So while they did rotate out on some running plays, when routes were being run, none of them missed more than 2 out of 55 routes. So they were out there on every passing play. They got the usage right. This is the type of offense we were hoping for the entire time. And then Cole Kmet, 7 catches for 64 yards and 10 targets. He played every single snap, all 76 of them. Did not leave the field. Did miss some routes run because he was blocking, but it's not bad usage. I would be a little bit cautious of this moving forward because, I think his targets are the first to go if there are not 47 passing attempts, or if the Bears get ahead and they run the ball, Kmet will be scripted out as he blocks very well. Now, for me, the actionable move is to buy Odunze. Great usage. 10 targets and ran around on 54 or 55 dropbacks. Played almost every non-obvious running snap. He was out there, but he didn't deliver for fantasy football. So because he didn't deliver, he may be buyable. I don't think the Bears are going to retain Keenan Allen in 2025 with a change in coaching staff. They might, but I'm not expecting that. So Odunze has had 10 targets in both games under Thomas Brown as offensive coordinator. Brown clearly sees that Odunze should be a centerpiece of the offense. The smash game is coming. Also, Odunze has 70 targets on the year, which is not bad, but he just has 1 touchdown on those 70 targets. So touchdown regression may come for Odunze. He has not been bad. I would definitely still be buying in on Odunze. I've actually been relatively impressed with his play and targets, even if it has not translated to fantasy points. Now, you buy Odunze for Josh Downs in 25 seconds. I like Josh Downs. I'd rather have Odunze, even costing a second with Downs. Downs is a good player. Odunze has potential to be a great player. And then this one, you get Odunze in 26 first for A.J. Brown. If you're rebuilding, this is the kind of thing I would do. Get that extra first and a much younger player for A.J. Brown, who, is not old, but is definitely not young. So these are some ways you could acquire Odunze. I know it sounds like a broken record, but if you like my YouTube content, you should sign up for the Patreon. Right now, the big part is I'm offering 7-day free trials at all tiers, rankings, access to Discord, advanced questions. You guys know all about what's offered, but basically it's just the opportunity to interact with me on a 24/7, 365 days a year basis. And I hope you guys check it out. With that said, we'll move into our next takeaway. So Jordan Addison, very big game this week. 8 catches, 162 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. There's no doubt that he dominated in this game. 28.1% target share, 47.1% of the team's receiving yards. He was really, really good. TJ Hockenson also had a big game. 7 catches, 114 yards, and 9 targets. He equaled Addison's targets. I love seeing Hockenson move from around a 50% snap share to around a 2/3 share. The increase in playing time means that Hockenson is a startable tight end 1 every week. Now, I heard some complaining, some concern about Justin Jefferson, 2 catches, 27 yards on 5 targets. I honestly have no idea how this happened. Even in tough coverage matchups, Jefferson always delivers. I wouldn't worry about this at all. But it was just interesting to see that Jordan Addison finally, really for the first time all year, had a truly fantasy relevant, important game. This is the first one that he's had that was really a difference maker. So what is, actionable move from this? Well, mean, it's to get rid of Jordan Addison. I think we all know, right, that Justin Jefferson, not Addison or Hockenson, is the top receiving weapon on the team. That is not in question. So all three players are not going to succeed every week, right? This is the first time really that Justin Jefferson failed all year. So who do we trust more between Addison and Hockenson? Before this week, Addison was averaging just 3 catches and 44.9 yards a game. He had a season high of 72 yards and a season high of 5 receptions, not even in the same game. He had 2 or 3 catches in all but one of his previous games. To give you an idea, Justin Jefferson had more than 80 yards in almost every game. So this week feels like more of an outlier. I'm not saying I dislike Jordan Addison. I think he's going to be this type of player for a while. But is he ever going to really be a difference maker for fantasy? I don't think so. I think we've seen enough to see that that's not going to happen. So if you get a 25 first for Jordan Addison, I would do it. And there's this other one I saw. You could add a 25 first to 25 second to Addison to get CeeDee Lamb. I still think CeeDee Lamb is an elite receiver. I do not think that has changed. And I do think we're going to waltz right back into 2025, and CeeDee Lamb is going to be drafted in redraft as a top 5 wide receiver, and he's going to be more valuable than this. So if you could do this to buy low on CeeDee Lamb right now, I would absolutely do so. My final takeaway, and it actually has nothing to do with anyone who played, but with someone who did not play, and his absence was felt. I think Brock Purdy will be the highest paid quarterback in 2025. I do. We saw that the 49ers offense completely collapsed this week without Purdy. Everything was bad. Brendan Allen, he was okay. I mean, 17-29, 109 yards, a touchdown, interception, lost fumble. I mean, he could have been worse, but we saw it was a completely different offense. The Packers focused on shutting down the run, which allowed Allen to have a few opportunities, but they weren't scared of him. So that's why they were able to shut down the run, which is very hard to do against a Kyle Shanahan offense. Allen did not deliver consistently, did not deliver big plays. Christian McCaffrey looked human. 11 carries for 31 yards and 3 catches for 37 yards. There was also a lost fumble in there. He played 40 or 49 snaps, so he was out there. Just didn't do much. I think the Packers knew he was the only player who could beat them. Without Purdy in the lineup, they weren't afraid of anyone else, just CMC. And they shut him down. Now, George Kittle was still good. 6 catches, 82 yards, touchdown, and 6 targets. Makes sense because backup quarterbacks almost always lean on the tight end. So Kittle will remain reliable no matter the starting quarterback. Of course, we'd rather have Purdy, but Kittle's still a mid tight end one every week with any quarterback. Now, Jauan Jennings was the lead wide receiver still. 5 catches, 40 yards on 7 targets. He's the only 49ers wide receiver to play a full snap share. And he remained the leading wide receiver, like I said. But the magic he had with Purdy wasn't there. It just didn't look the same. It didn't look the same. It wasn't exciting. It was more there. And then speaking of not exciting, Deebo Samuel vanished into thin air. The most exciting play he had was that kick return that was called back. 1 catch, 21 yards, 4 targets. Not good. It's fair to wonder if Samuel's past his prime. I think it's abundantly clear that Purdy was the engine behind Samuel's production this year, at least, not the other way around. Ricky Pearsall, not targeted. Same snap share as Samuel. He was out there. Not even worth considering playing without Purdy in the lineup. Might be a good dirt cheap buy low, though, for 2025. But this offense is not the same. Now, I think now is an opportunity in Superflex leagues, though, to buy Brock Purdy. People don't realize how good he's been this year. Because the 49ers, people see, oh, the 49ers are 5-5, and now they're 5-6. Purdy must not have been so good. They're wrong about that. Purdy's been 66% completion. That's good. 8.5 yards per attempt. I mean, we know that's elite. That's best quarterback in the league type numbers. 13 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. That's not so great. 261.3 passing yards a game. That's good. And 51 carries, 267 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Showing more mobility. He's been elite on a per throw basis. And this was without CMC for most of the year, without Brendan Ayuk for a lot of it. Purdy has been above 8 yards per attempt in every year of his career. It's not a fluke. If Trevor Lawrence got $55 million a year after 3 years of a 63.8% completion and 6.7 yards per attempt, what will Purdy get, right? But because of Purdy's draft capital, dynasty managers still don't trust him like they should. They will change that when he signs a $60 million a year contract or something like that. You can still buy Brock Purdy for Anthony Richardson and Brian Robinson. I like Anthony Richardson. He's turned it around a little bit, but Brock Purdy's worth a lot more than this in a super flex. And then this other one I thought was interesting. I love Josh Allen. Is he worth Brock Purdy and 2 firsts and a second? No, he's not. No player's worth that in a super flex. So I would easily take the Brock Purdy side here and get all of the extra draft capital. There were other trades as well, but these were just two that I noted as interesting. Brock Purdy is a strong buy for me in Dynasty, and he's going to be a Dynasty Superflex quarterback you can rely on as a mid to low end quarterback one for many, many years. Now, just one piece of NFL news I want to cover today. Gardner Minshew broke his collarbone, suffered the injury late in the Raiders' loss to the Broncos. He's going to miss the rest of the season. At this point, we've seen 2 years of meh quarterback play from Minshew as a replacement, bridge, temporary starter, whatever you want to call it. I don't think we're going to see that again in 2025. He'll sign somewhere as backup quarterback. Could go back to the Colts. There's just one option. There are other options. Should be held on to in Dynasty Superflex leagues. He's not going to be a week one starter in 2025. I think Jameis Winston has taken his place as the quarterback of interest to maybe start a temporary bridge year for someone. I don't think Gardner Minshew is on that list anymore. Aiden O'Connell's not the answer for the Raiders. He might be their backup quarterback next year, but he's not interesting to me. The Raiders are 2-9. They're going to draft their quarterback of the future in the 2025 NFL draft. We know Shadur Sanders would love to go there. Cam Ward is another option. I'd be surprised if one of those guys is not their 2025 starter because, Gardner Minshew, I think, is done here. Now, I've got one Patreon question. It's an interesting one. Is there a point in the season where you take anything you can get to get off of an aging player? You aren't left holding the bag, or you content holding if no one offers fair value? Well, it depends on the player. It's a tough question. For someone like, they have to be someone who I think is like going to retire or literally have no value next year. Like for Aaron Rodgers, I'd take whatever I can get, right? I mean, I'm not expecting Aaron Rodgers to be worth anything. For Tommy DeVito, for someone like that, I'd take whatever I can get. For someone like Matthew Stafford, Kirk Cousins, players I still expect to be around in 2025 to have another chance to sell in the offseason, I might have to hold if the offers are really bad, but I would try to push for an offer I would do. It's so situation dependent and offer dependent, though. There isn't a one size fits all answer. It depends on how bad your team is, other things, exact league format and stuff like that. But in general, I do always try to make a deal. But if I really can't, and it's a player who's still going to play in 2025, I'm fine holding if I absolutely have to. Now, if you like the video, make sure to drop a like and leave a comment with your thoughts. As always, the best way to support the channel is to subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, it's available on the Patreon. Dynasty starts at redraft and more. 7-day free trials are available today. Patreon.com/fantasy advice. You can click in the top right corner to sign up. And every sign up helps support my independent content. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all